Okay, it's Sunday, so it's time to play some fighting games and answer some questions. Yes, I did miss a whole week of uploads. No, there was no good reason for it. Thank you for asking. If you're wondering which side I'm on, it's Vegito, Piccolo, and Android 21. Can safely say no one else will ever play that team. So, first up, do you have any certain articles of clothing / styles you'd very much like to wear? There's a lot. There's a lot of various styles and clothings I'd like to wear. Probably the thing I most consistently enjoy aesthetically is like the full set of rings on like both hands pretty much. The only example I can think of offhand is like that the guy from Yakuza Like a Dragon, the kind of weird sketchy looking guy, joins your party. He's got like the full set of rings. That kind of aesthetic I generally like, but there's a lot. That's probably the most consistent one. If you could have the powers in real life, in whatever way you'd imagine it, of any of the playable heroes in Overwatch, which one would it be? You gotta go with Zenyatta. For several reasons, one of which is dramatically more important than the others. First off, you can heal people. That's cool, I guess, whatever. You can make people weaker, which is significantly more useful. You've got basically telekinesis, right? Like, how else do you describe the way he fights by hurling orbs at you? So that's just a broadly very useful ability. If you're ever gonna get hit by a truck, you can slam the panic button on Transcendence and just be fine. That's good. But here's the most important thing. Zenyatta can levitate, which is something I'm massively into. My favorite kind of powers are always ones that mean I don't have to exert any effort to move around anymore. Because I hate traveling. I hate walking. I hate going by bus. I hate getting a plane. I hate going by train. I hate all of these things. If you can levitate, traveling becomes so much less work. So that's why you gotta go with Zenyatta. The other stuff is all really just bonus. Flight is the main thing we're going for here. Vibe check on your actual human son, please. He is asleep right now. I was thinking I'd go and pick him up and bring him over, but he's asleep, so I will not do that. He is being lazy right now. What does Jeff Kaplan's departure mean? In practical terms, probably very little. I doubt Jeff was really behind most of the decisions being made, as far as game design actually goes. I'm sure he had, like, final say over a lot of stuff, but, like, I can't imagine Jeff was, like, really leading most of the decisions being made. So probably in practical terms, we won't notice. The real, like, downside to Jeff leaving is, like, dude, we lost, like, 80% of our memes. Jeff was so many of the memes in the Overwatch community. I guess that also means Overwatch became a little less marketable, right? Because you have to figure there was a fair chunk of people that found out about Overwatch through a bunch of memes, like the very highly edited Jeff Kaplan videos, right? Where it's just completely no longer what that video was about, because we just, like, stitched it all together. Wrestle with Jeff, Prepare for Death, an absolute classic. So we lost a lot of memes that day, but outside of that, like, the video, like, will probably be, like, the videos we get about Overwatch will be less entertaining because we all loved Jeff, alright? Everybody loved Jeff on just, like, a deep spiritual level. And that's very sad, but in practical terms, it probably doesn't mean very much. I doubt we'll actually notice from an outsider's perspective. So yeah. Next up. How do you play main tank in competitive when you are in bronze? Just, like, protect your supports. There's not really much else going on in bronze, really. If we're being, like, wholly honest, When you're playing tank and bronze, you're really just playing like a DPS that happens to have a lot of hit points. Because we can talk all we want about fundamentals and good practices for playing tank and all that, but it doesn't mean shit when the enemy Reinhardt's charging into your team and you just gotta brawl it out with him, like, every 5 seconds, you know? Yeah, there's so much more, like, hectic shit going on, and you're gonna have to just kind of, like, fight it out with people more frequently. So, like, you know, do the frontliney thing, stand on the payload, try and take space, but, like, in practical terms, just protect your supports as much as you can, and, like, brawl it out with people. Probably just, like, try and keep the supports alive as much as you can is, like, the most directionally actionable advice I could give you, because you are just going to end up fighting a lot of people, because your team's not going to be grouped up with you. The enemy team's not going to be grouped up, so it's going to be very difficult to, like, maintain a front line, because there's if the front line is, like, all around you, what do, right? So just worry about keeping your supports alive, frontline as much as you can, but, like, just be ready to fight it out with people, because it's a complete, like, until you get to Grandmasters, really, if we're being completely honest. Next up, how do I know what's wrong with my team? You probably won't. If we're being, like, wholly honest about the situation, you're not gonna know what's wrong unless you're, like, a higher rank than the rank you're currently playing in. Because if you knew what was going wrong, you'd be able to, like, do something about it, right? Like, things that are going wrong in low ranks are, like, pretty common occurrences, but people just don't notice that they're happening. Because if they did, well, they'd probably be a higher rank. Like, I guess we could go by it rank by rank, but I mean, that would get really tedious really quickly, right? When a lot of it is like, people aren't picking the heroes correctly, people aren't grouping up properly, like, a really important member of our team is just getting completely bodied by the other opposing team member. Like, sometimes what's wrong is as simple as their Reinhardt is a lot better than your Reinhardt is. You know, like, you can't really do much about that one if we're being honest, right? Like, you can pick Zarya if you're the other tank and try and make it easier for him. You can try and pick DPS heroes that have a lot of crowd control so that you can maybe help, like slow the other Reinhardt down. You can pick someone like Reaper and maybe just, like, bully the enemy Reinhardt to death before it can be an issue. But, like, if we're being totally honest, if the other team's Reinhardt is better than your Reinhardt, what's probably going to happen is that your Reinhardt's going to not block any Earth Shatters and land 0 Earth Shatters, and you're just going to get completely fucking spanked. Because you're constantly getting knocked on your back, right? Like, because, like, sometimes that's all it is. It's just like the opposing team member has someone dramatically better than your team and is completely shutting them down. And it is always very difficult to play 5v6, which is effectively what is happening when your teammate is just getting clapped by their opposite member. Like, common problems are, like, somebody is running completely unchecked, right? Like, someone on the enemy team is, like, really good, they're Smurf, they're just having the best game of their life, and they're just going completely uncontested. Most commonly seen happening with Pharahs, right? Like, definitely one of the most common problem area champions for people. Heroes, sorry. Almost all games call them heroes, but you play League of Legends and suddenly you call them champions. So, like, Pharah is the most common one, and, like, everybody knows what you're meant to do versus the Pharah. It's just that in practice, it's very hard to do the things you're meant to do against the Pharah, because dealing with Pharah is not something that one person does, really. Dealing with Pharah is a team effort. One person Especially if it's a pharmacy. Like, one person is probably not going to be able to deal with the Pharah. It realistically takes 2 people to deal with the Pharah most of the time, at least. And if it's a pharmacy, well, shit, dude, we might need the whole team on this one. Other common problem champions, Hammond, Doomfist, any of the flankers. The way you deal with these things are all the same. You pick a crowd control-y champion, hero. So, you know, you pick McCree, you pick May, you pick fucking Roadhog, you pick Bridgette, you know, you pick the ones you pick against those annoying characters. But sometimes the problem hero is like Roadhog, which is a difficult one to deal with just because Roadhog's pretty hard to kill if you're one person, right? Like, if we're being totally real with you on that one, the best hero you can pick versus Roadhog is Anna. Anna really fucks Roadhog up. But Roadhog might also be fucking you up. It's a bit of a catch-22 in that way. So like, you know, so like common issues are like, there's a character going completely unchecked, which is like, I mean, if no one's dealing with it, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem, right? So like, if nobody is dealing with it, you gotta deal with it. Sorry. And you might not be able to. Like, it might, because you might not play the hero you need to do to counter him, you just might not be very good at this matchup, you know, all manner of things. It might be an instance of the character not really having a firm counter. So like, it can be a real problem, basically, depending on the character, but like, it's like, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So if you can deal with it, you gotta try and deal with it. Other things that can be wrong with your team is just that, like, someone on your team is playing really badly that game. And it's like, what can you do, really? Someone has a bad game, there's not much you can do about that, right? Other than try and pick heroes that play well with them, and hope that you can sort of boost them up a little bit. But, like, if they're having a bad game, they're having a bad game. This is why the 33-33-33 rule is a thing, right? You're going to win 33% of your games through no fault of your own, because, like, someone on your team is going to have a great game, someone on the enemy team is going to have a terrible game, someone on the enemy team is going to be throwing, you know? You're going to have a Smurf on your team. You're going to lose 33% of your games for the same reason, it's just now you're on the negative side of this rather than the positive side of it. And then the last 33% of the ones that you will actually realistically have a chance to affect. So, you know, like, if someone's having a bad game, that's just like a thing that's gonna happen to you sometimes, right? Yeah, I'm having trouble finding a way to really wrap up my thoughts on this one in a concise manner, other than a lot of things can be going wrong with your team, and it can be difficult to identify what the problem is if you're in that rank, because if you could easily identify the problem, you'd probably be a higher rank already. So it's very difficult to identify what the issue is if you're in the rank you belong at. There's like the common checklist things you can go down, like, does it seem like it's one of these things? But again, like, there's no guarantee you'll even know. My advice to you really is don't worry about what's wrong with your team, just like worry about yourself more, you know? Worry about what you're doing, don't worry about what's wrong with your team, strictly speaking. If somebody's getting clapped by, like, if your team's really obviously getting clapped by a specific member of the enemy team, you should try and do something about that. But, like, more broad problems that can be wrong with your team, don't worry about it. There's not a huge amount you can really do about them if we're being completely honest. Just worry about yourself. Don't fixate on your team so much. So next up. What are the situations that you have to pick Bridgette rather than any other healer? The good old days when you could just pick Bridgette and it didn't matter. You just have a good time. So you really would just want to, like, if you're a Bridgette super fan, more power to you, just pick Bridgette, whatever. But, like, pretty much you only really want to pick Bridgette if you're trying to deal with specific problem characters. So, Hammond, Doomfist, Tracer, Genji, D.Va, Winston, you know, the usual suspects. Maybe Reaper, maybe May, though Bridgette doesn't strictly deal with those people, she just makes it life harder for them. She just doesn't, like, strictly shut them down, because they're a little inconvenient to deal with. Though, to be fair, you can say the same thing about all of them, really. Like, you know, any of them can just play around Bridgette, in which case Bridgette is not countering them. You can say it about anybody, if we're being honest. But, like, you only really pick them versus, like, those kinds of characters. Like, one of them is giving you a specific problem. Other than picking Bridgette as, like, a counter-pick situation, there's realistically no reason to pick Bridgette over any of the other ones. Because, like, as far as the off-supports go, like, the others have better overall utility, right? Like, Zenyatta and Lucio just have better utility. Discord, Speed Boost are fantastic utility. Bridgette's utility is crowd control, which is entirely dependent on what team you're playing with and against, really. So, like, you know, their utility is, broadly speaking, better, and they have a defensive ultimate. Bridgette does not. Technically, Bridgette has a defensive ultimate, but you know what I mean. Don't be a pedant. Straw man I just invented. Like, having a defensive ultimate is a big deal. This is why Lucio is just, like, broadly very good, right? Like, Speed Boost is fantastic utility. Sound Barrier is a good ultimate because it can be used both defensively and offensively at the same time. And Speed Boost is just fantastic utility. What can't Speed Boost do, right? It's a great ability. It gets you in position and it gets you out of position. It's great. Fantastic. So, like, you only really want to pick Bridgette for, like, those situations, unless you're just, like, a big fan of Bridgette, in which case, more power to you, go for it, brother. But, like, that's kind of it, really. Counter picks, mostly. Next up, what is the easiest hero to play correctly and to climb/carry with? Pretty much, like, you're looking for somebody, if you're looking for someone just really straightforward to play, then Soldier, McCree, Zarya, Ana. These are all extremely simple to play champions. Like, you pick these characters, you know what you're doing, right? They don't have any funky things going on. What they're trying to do is really straightforward. Now note, these heroes are easy to understand and carry and climb with. They're not necessarily easy to play, because obviously if you can't aim, Ana and McCree are going to be problems for you. Soldier's got an automatic weapon, so aiming is less of a big deal for him, right? It's just that these heroes are very easy to understand on a conceptual level, right? Like, Soldier McCree, you take high ground and you just click on the Batman. McCree can kind of catch you because McCree has a bodyguarding aspect that most people don't understand, right? Because McCree, you want to be trying to protect the supports and trying to make life difficult for the enemy team with the flashbang. People can get caught on that because they don't bother protecting their backline, despite this being in McCree's job description. But, like, very easy to get, right? Like, he's got a revolver, he clicks on the bad men, right? Soldier, he's got an assault rifle and no other utility, really, other than biofield. So you just click on the bad men, you take high ground, you abuse sightlines, right? Zarya, really straightforward. You try and get to high energy as quickly as you can. You use your bubbles, like, correctly using your bubbles is obviously a problem Zarya players have. But again, easy to understand on a conceptual level. You get to high energy as quickly as you can. You bully people once you're high energy. You peel for people. You bully the enemy front line. And you try and catch as many people in Graviton as you can. Ana, sniper healer. You stay far back as you can. This grenade, it makes it so that I heal my team real good and the enemy team can't be healed. So obviously I want to get both with it if I can. I boost the person who's going to do the most damage. I sleep the people that are trying to kill me. Very straightforward on a conceptual level. Mechanical, right? Like, different matter. Putting the conceptuality into practice, something people obviously struggle with, right? But, like, very easy to play on a conceptual level. It's just And mechanically speaking, people can still have problems with it. But these people are also very good to carry with, right? Like, Anna has incredible playmaking potential. McCree's got great playmaking potential. McCree's just always good. Soldier's just very easy to play, and... like, a soldier on high ground is one of the most disgustingly obnoxious things in the entire game, right? Zarya, everybody knows a good Zarya can crush an entire game by herself, right? Everybody knows Zarya is a great character to carry with. So, like, it's gotta be those four, really. Because, like, everybody else, all the other traditionally easy characters that people go to, like Mei, there's stuff with Mei that's gonna get you caught, right? Like, people are not gonna use the wall correctly 90% of the time. Blizzard is not, strictly speaking, the easiest ultimate to use in the world, right? Unlike, say, Tac Visor, Graviton, really straightforward, very easy to understand. Blizzard, you can end up wasting Blizzard pretty quickly. So, like Bastion. Everybody likes to make fun of how easy Bastion is to play. If that was the case, Bastion would be crushing every game below, like, Diamond, right? The problem is that, like, Bastion is not actually that easy, because he requires his team to play around him, and people who play Bastion, they don't want to play Bastion like the way Bastion's meant to be played, right? Which is, you have to be willing to stand up and move. How many times have you seen the Bastion just completely buckle down while 6 people are just on top of him, just absolutely laying into the Bastion? And there's nothing you can do for that guy, right? Like, he's just out of position and he's just getting absolutely spanked by the enemy team. But Bastion players are just like, I gotta be in configuration turrets so that I can get my big play of the game, and then everybody's gonna make fun of that play of the game anyway. Right? Like, people don't actually want to play Bastion like you're meant to play Bastion. And I've seen this in play from my own friend who upsettingly really likes Bastion. And I just remember watching this happen to him, and I was like, dude, you gotta move. And he was like, it's not as fun when you have to move. I'm like, yeah, life's hard sometimes like that, isn't it? When the enemy team, like, plays around you, you know? Like, anyway. Easiest characters to play correctly and climb with. Zarya, Soldier, McCree, Anna. I don't really have 2 for every category. I just think Anna and Zarya are way easier than the others in their categories, at least, to play correctly. Next. What can I do as a tank main if our DPS can't kill the Pharah? You get 2 options. You get D.Va, and you get Winston. D.Va's a lot better than Winston is. But those are the 2 you get. If it's a small-ish map, you can maybe do Roadhog. And that's it. Those are your choices. And you get up, you just get up in that Pharah's face and you heckle her as much as you possibly can. Now, of course, you can't always do this either. Sometimes you're shit out of luck. If you're the main tank on the team, because the question was as a tank main, not as a main tank. Subtle difference. If you're the main tank, you're kind of shit out of luck. You get Winston, really. Which you can't always play for a variety of reasons, both for your own team and the enemy team, right? Because if you're the main tank and you switch to D.Va, you're throwing harder than your teammates are for not killing the Pharah. Because suddenly, we're playing D.Va Zarya. Which is very fun to think about meme-wise right now, because after the buff to Call Mech that showed up on Experimental, I was very excited. We immediately workshopped this on one of the streams, where the big play was Graviton, it was self-destruct for past the enemy team. They all group up, because they're, like, getting into cover to get out of the way. You grab them while they're in cover, and then D.Va runs up, Call mech right on top of the graviton. Squish all of the DPS and healers in there. Very funny, very big meme play. It's like a two-way combo, right? Because you either kill them with self-destruct, you kill them because they're in graviton, or you kill them because you called mech on the graviton. Very funny. Big fan of that just visually in my head. But anyway, like if you're the main tank and you change to D.Va, like you can completely cripple your team by doing that. So if you're main tank, you don't necessarily get any options. If you're off tank, you get some options. Because you can play Winston even if you're the off tank, right? You can play, if you can't play D.Va, you can play Winston. You can still pick Winston. That's fine. But like if you're the main tank, you only really get Winston. And that's not always appropriate. You will be throwing harder than the people on your team not killing the Pharah if you cripple your team comp by picking a bad main tank. You will be the worst factor. But those are your only options. You pick those heroes and you get up in their face and you harass them as much as possible. Do be careful you're not throwing yourself into the enemy team still while you're doing this. You'd hope that that fact didn't need to be attached to that, right? You'd hope people would just know not to throw themselves in the enemy team because they were so busy focusing on killing the Pharah. But, no, they'll do it. They'll do it still, so don't do that. You still gotta be alive to get anything done. So, there you go. Next up, how to climb as Mercy. Really? And like, these are the two things low-level Mercies have trouble with, right? First off, damage boost more. The amount of times I've seen the low-level Mercies, they've just got that healing beam on constantly because they've got the wrong idea of support in their head. They're not thinking support, they're thinking healer. There's a difference. Damage boost as much as you can, and just stay alive. Don't die. These are the two key factors to play Mercy. Damage boosting a lot, and playing safe and not dying. If you play support, one of the most impactful things you can do is just stay alive as much as you can. There are a bunch of videos that you can look up on YouTube now. Whole different groups of whole different people have done whole different series on these things. Just how to stay alive as a support. Maybe I'll do one day. Who knows? You can look all these things up, how to stay alive as support. All kinds of videos about this. But that's like the most impactful thing you can do. Just stay alive. Because as soon as you die, your whole team's fucked. Like, if I see both the supports die first in a fight, I've just reconciled that fight's lost in my head pretty much. It's so hard to recover from a situation where you lost both your healers. Because your team has no fuel anymore. You're just going to get... Because if your healers are dead, all damage you take from that point on is permanent, right? They're just terrible. So, like, just stay alive. Really, really big deal. And damage boost as much as you can. And that's what you do to climb as Mercy. Those are your things. The only other, like, real big thing is if there's somebody important you think you can kill while you're using Valkyrie, go for it. Like, if you can see the enemy Ana is kind of off by herself and you're using Valkyrie and you think you got a good chance of killing that Ana, killing the Ana is probably a good idea. As long as your whole team isn't going to die while you're off doing that. You know, healing is still your top priority, so if you go to kill somebody but you lose like 2 people while you were doing that, wasn't really worth it, was it? All things in moderation. But, you know, if you think you can kill a guy, go kill a guy. My son, would you like to come for the vibe check? No, apparently. He may be back later. He is awake now, but he's running around. You know, it's a thing. So next up, and this is the last question for this week, and this is really just this is one of my classic spite pick questions, really. Best reticle for hit scan, brackets, DPS in lower ranks. I used a small purple dot first and had around 20% accuracy on Hanzo, McCree, Widow, and then I used a small yellow crosshair where I did a little bit, but not by much. Is there any recommendations for a reticle to improve my aim? This is a textbook example of people worrying about the exact wrong thing to be worrying about. First off, I know you said Hanzo in there. Just use Hanzo's default reticle, okay? Zarya and Hanzo use their default reticles. Just in general. They're the only reticles in the game that, like, communicate vital information on them, right? So, like, just use the default ones. But, like, this is a classic, absolute wrong thing to be focusing on. This is what people do. They want quick shortcut to bigger results, right? Reminds me of one I saw a really long time ago, which was people, or a dude that was, like, soliciting for advice for what mouse pads pro players use, right? I'm sorry, I hate to break this to you, I'm sorry. This is gonna really hurt to hear, but just because you have the exact same mouse pad as a pro player doesn't mean you're gonna play as well as that pro player. I'm sorry. The mouse pad isn't like the phylactery that holds their vital essence, right? Like, it's not gonna make you better, unfortunately. Picking the same reticle as them will also not make it better. That's not what this guy's doing, but you get the point I'm getting at here. It's not gonna help, really. My advice is, for characters other than Hanzo and Zarya, just pick one that doesn't have a huge amount of visual noise on it. I like the dot, I like the small dot, and that's it, because it has no extra visual noise. This is where you will hit, nothing else. Because, like, you know, the crosshairs, there's just extra noise on those that annoys me personally, so I don't like to use them. I just like the dot is as little noise as possible. But yeah, sorry. The reticle you pick doesn't really matter. You do just kind of, like, have to grind these things out, unfortunately. Aim is one of these things people are always looking for a shortcut on. But, like, there's no shortcut. You just have to grind it out until you're better at the game. I'm sorry. I know. But you do just kind of have to grind it out, and it's going to feel bad, but it is how it has to be. And I made the textbook blunder of not having anything else to say about that, but I started a whole new game, so now we have to go through it anyway. This game's like 4 weeks old, so I can't give you in-depth insight into what I was thinking this time, like the other week. This was also, like, I think, like, the third game I'd ever played against Gogeta, Super Saiyan 4. And he's kind of a dick. He's a real big dick, which I complained about at length at one point. This is not going well. Oh, 21 fell out of that. Okay, I thought I was about to die. I thought it was about to be just down to Piccolo right there, but it was not. Because if two people get hit, like, you call an assist and that person starts getting hit in the combo, they take way more damage. It's very easy to, like, hit the assist and then you can just kill them. If you're good at the game, anyway. I don't know any, like, any, like, long, high damage combos to do that with. Baby's also a dick. This guy's playing a very meta-y team. Except for Goku Black, who is not especially great. It's looking bad, brother. We're all the way down to Android 21. We still got Spark. We got a lot of meter. So, you know, there's that. Just gonna Spark. Big fear right there, because I probably wouldn't have died anyway, but I just didn't want to risk it. Alright, we got Baby out of there. That's big money right there. Because Baby's a real big dig. Gogeta? That's a problem. Go for the read, try and grab him out of the air right at the start. Didn't work. We got Sparking, we can keep on him. Alright, he's using his invincible reversal. Should have seen that one coming. Realistically, the Gogetas, they love the invincible reversal. Alright, messed up the vanish, we're on him. He tried to do the counter right there, that was his counter. So you hit him, but because I used a grab, the counter doesn't go. So we get to combo him for that one. We put him in the corner. He just hopped right out the top of that one because I did not do the correct pressure. Now, no need to rush. I'm rushing. I shouldn't be rushing Gogeta's got no ranged abilities. I do is 21, so I should really just be trying to, like, space him out, if we're being honest. Alright, caught him right there while he was trying to push a button. Fantastic news. This might kill him, because we got the damage boost from having the one character alive. That's definitely gonna kill him. Yeah, easy. Now we're down to Goku Black. Goku Black's way easier to deal with, because he's got very limited pressure is the main reason people don't rate him very highly. He hasn't got many ways to, like, open you up. If you're bad at teching throws like I am, though, it doesn't matter. Alright, that was a terrible combo, and he didn't use any meter at all. He's got 7 bar, because he's trying to summon Shenron. I remember this game now. Yes. So, he wants another Sparking Blast. That's what he went for right there. So look, he can spark again now. So he, by summoning Shenron, he ended up giving up a lot. So basically, Chuck picked another Sparking Blast, which can get him out of trouble if something bad is happening while he's blocking. Or he can try and use it to kill people. But alternatively, you can get touched twice and die without ever using that Sparking Blast. Shenron could have instead healed his healed Goku Black, or it could have revived a dead teammate. He opted to do neither of those things and just got another Sparking Blast. Also, by summoning Shenron, he completely gave up his pressure because he used no meter. Instead, he had to do a very bad combo. So that he could summon Shenron, because you have to just do a full auto combo to summon Shenron, and the auto combos are terrible. So he gives up all pressure, doesn't use any meter, and here's the thing, right? Goku Black's got some cool stuff you can do after you do a level 3. Because when you level 3 somebody in fighters, you can do nothing fancy when you wake up from the ground, right? Because if you just get knocked down normally, you can up tech, you can down tech, you can delay tech, you can just neutral tech, you can get up in a variety of ways, which can make it difficult to pressure the person because they might do something you're not expecting. When you level 3 somebody, they wake up in the exact same way every time. There's nothing they can do differently. Goku Black has some stuff he can do if he level 3s you. If he did like an optimal combo when he summoned Shenron, if he just did an optimal combo instead, I would have had, like, a sliver of health left, and he would only have to wing me from that point to kill me, and he'd get to do one full mix-up while I can do nothing. So, it would have been a lot better for him, but he wanted to BM me by summoning Shenron and picking a second Sparking Blast, and then Touch of Deathing me in the game. Which came back to bite him in the butt because he never got to use that other Sparking Blast, so he gave up threw it all on the ground to try and BM and summon Shenron. How tragic. And I remember I had 3 games recorded, I won the 2, he did not want to play a 4th game. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you did, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer. If you haven't already, you can join our Discord and ask questions more directly and have a conversation about them, or just ship post of this. I started streaming on Twitch Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 8 p.m. EST to 11 EST. There's a link to your channel in the description. If you managed to make it all the way through the video and someone else enjoyed it, please like the video and subscribe for more content of middling quality in the future. And I hope you found the video helpful. I'll do better this week, I promise.